So you're thinking of moving to Maine. I don't blame you. Everywhere you go in this evergreen vacation land, you will forever be discovering more reasons to be grateful for living here. Maine is like mining for gold. The more you dig, the richer you get. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the seafood, the summers, autumns, winters, low crime, housing, wildlife, safety, and nature. First up, the seafood. When folks west of Fairfield County, Connecticut think lobster, they think Maine lobster. In Denver, Minnesota, or Louisville, you won't hear folks say, "My goodness, I'm hungry for some New Jersey lobster." It doesn't happen. No, sir, never will. Maine has, and I'm not going to say arguably, the best waters for seafood. That is why we have the best haddock, crab, halibut, scallops, cod, clams, mussels, and we arguably rival Alaska for salmon. Maine is to seafood what Nashville is to music. You folks down there keep singing and we'll keep delivering the best seafood on the planet. Next is why Maine is called vacation land. Our summers. Our summers are the best in the country. Best temperatures, best food, best lakes, rivers, and oceans. Did you know that there are over 6,000 lakes and ponds in Maine? Whether you are into fishing, boating, swimming, diving, water skiing, pontoon, boat chilling, or what have you, we have the fresh water. Or if you favor salt water, we have about 3,478 miles of coastland. That would take a lifetime to explore. Now, that leaves our rivers. Maine has over 70 rivers longer than 20 miles, 39 rivers that drain at least 200 square miles, and it's just too many to count the brooks and streams, creeks for you southerners. You know, there is nothing like listening to the white-throated sparrow and a chickadee singing their spring song as you wet your line for some spunky trout. Next natural benefit is fall. Seasonally, Maine is quite famous for the colors of autumn. Leaf peepers from all over the nation come to Maine to take it all in. If you live here, you could just breathe in all those colors as you watch the deer play in your yard. Along with the colors is the maple syrup. I know Vermont is quite famous and they claim to be king of the maple syrup. Well, where is their ocean? No, sir. And then there's the apples of Maine. Goodness, Maine has the tastiest apples. You may want to check out MaineApples.org for some data. There is nothing like walking around Pie Tree Orchard in Sweden or Trewergy's Orchard in Levant. There's for fresh apples, coffee, and donuts. Maine also has some yard work inspiring fall temperatures. Who wants to rake their yard when it's 80 degrees? The temps will drop to 55 to 65 degrees. You throw on some comfort clothes, sweatshirts, and a touch of blaze orange, and you're good to go. Okay, time to talk about winter. If you are into snowmobiles, well then, there's over 10,000 miles of snowmobile trails throughout the state. On a snow sled, you can see parts of Maine most don't ever get to see due to proximity and accessibility. Or you may favor skiing. Why, there are over 21 locations to downhill ski from Sugarloaf Sunday River, Pleasant Mountain to Saddleback, north to Fort Kent's Lonesome Pine Trails, east to Mars Hill. And then there's ice fishing. My dear, you know those 6,000 ponds and lakes, they freeze over and there's plenty of fishing in the winter. Moving on, did you know that Maine has a low crime rate, comparatively speaking? In fact, watching the news, you'd think we started importing criminals a few years back to do the job. It seems like every other week there's some fella from New York or Massachusetts coming into the state and getting busted in Portland or Bangor or on the turnpike for fentanyl, cocaine, or heroin. Gone are the exciting days of the marijuana busts down at the lobster pier. here. Since you are interested in moving to Maine, you're going to need a place to live. So let's talk housing. The average house price in California is $708,000. Massachusetts, it's $533. In Maine's best neighborhoods, the average is about $300,000. Sure, I know the average price down there in West Virginia is $118,000 and Iowa's $180,000, but again, no ocean. Here in Penobscot County, the average good house is $235,000. Up there in Aroostook County, it's $140,000. You could sell your house in California and buy 5 nice homes up in the county, one on each side. Another great attribute of Maine is the wildlife. There's deer, bear, bald eagles, moose, osprey, seal, porpoises, whales, and in the summertime, folks will gather to watch the Canadians at the Old Orchard Beach. It's quite a show. Then there was that time a porcupine walked by my leg. Did you know porcupines are a lot like an angry spouse? You leave them alone, and they'll leave you alone. Now you know. Every time I see one of those tornadoes tear through an Oklahoma town, I feel bad for them, and at the same time, I feel quite grateful to be in Maine. Maine usually doesn't have Mother Nature trying to destroy your living room, garage, and neighborhood. We have clean air. Don't worry about dust storms, Los Angeles pollution, or lengthy air quality index announcements on the news. Here's a question. When was the last time you've heard the words hurricane and Maine in the same sentence? It rarely happens. Less rare than tornadoes. On the other hand, there have been a few earthquakes, though they're very, very small and usually unfelt by humans. Let's continue the conversation about nature. Another attractive attribute of Maine's cities is that within 15 minutes of any city central, you can be in the country, on the water, or hiking. Here's a few selling points to Maine's nature. There is tranquility. If you want peace and quiet, you don't have far to get it. If you live in the big cities, you will find some place to sit and stare at the water. It happens here. Admit it, the reason the song "Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay" was so easily internalized was because rivers, oceans, and ponds are so healing to look at. You can get pretty uptight with traffic, but it's pretty hard to get angry at an ocean scene. Then there's the stars. You will just take a few steps outside any city and the stars will be smiling upon you with their twinkling, winky glory. I don't know how many times in the last 5 decades I've heard someone say, "Goodness, here in Maine I can see the stars." They actually pronounce the R. That's how you know they're from away. Evidently in LA, Boston, and New York, the light pollution is so bad you can't see the stars. What a tragedy. Why would you live there? Why would you live anywhere where you can't see nature? Why indeed? I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope you subscribe and hit like, and by gory, we're going to have another video for you coming out real soon. I want to thank you for watching.